Anybody know what the hell I did with my window switch? Hello everyone and welcome back to Bad Luck Garage. So after our little fiasco at Cash Nights the other night, I have decided I want to do something to kind of help me hook up on this nitrous in the China Vet. I already kind of had a plan. My plan was I was going to run a progressive controller, but I can't use the progressive controller with the ZEX kit. It has to be used with just a regular solenoid kit. Unfortunately, my other kit, my NX kit, is currently hooked up on the Chaos Theory Camaro here. So what I've decided to do in the meantime is the next best thing, and that's wire up a window switch so I don't get jumpy next time and spray the nitrous right off the line. 2 Saturdays from now, August the 10th at English Mountain Raceway, they are having what they're calling a hard tire invasion. So it's going to be another hard tire competition. I'm not going to have, you know, the nitrous system swapped out between vehicles and the progressive controller by then. So I want to go ahead, put this on here, and you know, so maybe I can just have a little bit better shot at least putting up a fight this time, not just blowing my tires off right off the line. And I thought to myself, hell, as long as I'm hooking it up, I might as well show you guys how to hook it up. So here we are. So what we have here is an Intellitronix window switch. Now this is also sold by Summit Racing and Jegs, rebranded under their own names, but they're all made by Intellitronix. So if you see a window switch being sold that looks like this, it's made by Intellitronix. You guys already know I have had tons of issues with Intellitronix. I won't go into that, but if you look back to the turbo truck build, Project Steppenwolf, before we put the turbo on it, we ran nitrous on it. We tried to use this switch and it did not work correctly. Now since then, I had a friend that went in and he said that actually one of these connections, I don't know which one it was, but he said one of the connections was not soldered well on the little motherboard inside of here, and he claims that it's fixed. So we're going to hope it is. And we're going to hook this up on the China Vet. This is just going to be a temporary install because we do plan on eventually moving the NX kit off of the Chaos Theory Camaro onto the China Vet. And at that point, I'll be testing a budget line of progressive controllers that are computer programmable. So what I'm going to do here, these are real easy to hook up, guys. Basically, you have red is power, and you want to run this off your ignition. In my case, I'm going to run this off the switch that turns the whole nitrous system on. So red is power, of course. Black, of course, is ground. You have a gray wire. This is going to be your TAC output signal. So in my case, you know, I'm using the white wire. I think it's pin 10 on the PCM because it's an LS engine, and this gets hooked to your TAC source, guys. So, you know, if it's your distributor, it'll be your tachometer output, whatever. Gray wire goes to your TAC signal. Blue wire goes to whatever you want to activate. Then after we hook it up, I'm going to show you how to adjust it. You can adjust it for number of cylinders, whether you're putting this on a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, etc. And what a window switch does, guys, as opposed to a regular RPM activated switch that just comes on and stays on at a certain RPM, what a window switch does is it allows you to set 2 parameters. You can set a RPM you want the switch to activate and a RPM you want the switch to deactivate. So if you're worried about your transmission or something like that, let's say your transmission, you want your nitrous to come on at 3,000 RPMs, but your transmission is going to shift at 6,000. What this will allow you to do is you can make it come on at 3,000, and then you can set it to shut the nitrous off at, say, 5,900, something like that, right before your transmission shifts, so that your transmission doesn't have to carry all that extra power through the shift. I'm not really worried about that. The only thing I am worried about is hitting my rev limiter while it's spraying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to you know, fine tune it. I don't know exactly when I want it to kick on. We're going to test the car out at the track and figure that out, but I'm going to set it to kick on at whenever I need it to kick on, and I'm probably going to set it to kick off at about 6,400 because I have my rev limit set at 65. That way I don't have to worry about bumping the rev limiter while I'm spraying. That's pretty much all there is to it, guys. So we're going to go out here and hook it up on the car. I have to apologize for all the background noise. We do have cicadas out this year, so I know it's going to be pretty loud, but there's nothing I can do about it. Anyway, we have our relay panel here. I actually show how to build that in another video. I'll go ahead and post a link up here. So if you want to check out that video on how we built this relay panel, you can do that. On this relay panel, we have inputs, outputs for a lot of different things. But our blue wire right here is actually from our switch in the car that turns on our nitrous kit. So when power comes into this blue wire, it energizes this solenoid. The solenoid sends power back out through this red wire to our kit. What I want to do is I want to interrupt this blue wire, and I want to tie this blue wire into my window switch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook this blue wire to the window switch, to the red wire on the window switch, the power wire. So that way when I flip the switch on for the nitrous in the car, it's going to energize the window switch. Then I'm going to take the blue wire that comes out of the window switch, and I'm going to plug it in right here where this blue wire used to be. That way, what's going to happen is when I turn that switch on, it's going to energize the window switch. Then when I hit a specific RPM, the window switch is going to send a signal back out to turn on my nitrous relay here, which is going to activate my nitrous kit. So again, you can see this is a pretty easy hookup. So again, we're going to take our power wire that used to just turn on the nitrous kit. We're going to take that wire, we're going to hook it to the red wire on here. So when I flip the switch, power to this. We're going to ground out this black wire. Now I could either just ground it to my grounding block here, which is probably what I'm going to do because this is a temporary install, or I could make it its own new ground. Then we're going to have the blue window switch output wire is going to hook up right here where our blue wire used to be. And then this gray wire right here is going to go to our tack signal, which I already have a tack signal wire under my relay panel that I have already pulled off the PCM. And here he is right here. You can tell I was already ready to do this, guys. I've actually pre-wired this car for a lot more than you guys know. Now what I'm doing right here, guys, is since this is just a temporary install and I already have all these male connectors on this window switch, I'm just going to make little jumper wires with female connectors, because probably within the next month or so we're going to end up taking all this back apart, and we're going to end up wiring in our other nitrous system and a progressive controller. And at that point, you know, I won't be using this window switch anymore. So no point in making permanent connections on a temporary install. Okay, so now we're back out here. Gonna pull this panel up, get my tack lead wire that I just showed you guys out. And I actually, when I made this wire, I made a whole lot of extra on it because I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing with it, or I knew what I was going to be doing with it. I just didn't know exactly how far it would have to go. So we'll go ahead and crimp this on, and if I need to remove it later, that's fine. So this is our tack signal wire. Again, that's going to plug into the gray wire on this Intellitronix window switch. I'm going to disconnect this blue wire right here, which again, this is power. This wire comes straight in from our main power switch for our nitrous system. So we're actually going to connect that to this red wire. Then we have our output wire, which is going to go right here where our switch wire used to go. And again, this is the terminal that turns everything on, turns the nitrous on. So in addition to the video where I showed you guys how to build this relay panel, I also did another video showing how to hook up nitrous on, I used this car as an example in the video, but it actually shows you how to hook up a basic nitrous system on pretty much any car. So if you guys want to check that out, I believe it's in the China Vet playlist. It might also be in the LS Swap Tech Tips playlist. I don't remember if I put it in that playlist or not. Now we're just going to take our ground wire, and we've actually got an extra ground terminal here on our fuse block, so that's where we're going to run that. And for the last time, I want to state this is temporary. If this was permanent, I would be doing things quite a bit differently. Alright, so we're going to throw some tape on these connections. I'm going to actually get a piece of Velcro to stick right here so I can stick this controller right here, or this window switch right here. Then I can show you how to program this. Okay, so all the wires are taped up. Not very pretty, but should be functional. So I have put a piece of Velcro here. I already had Velcro on the back of my switch here. So we're just going to stick him right here. Then we'll key the car on and flip our switch on. And you can see right away the switch came on. It showed that it was set at 3,000 RPMs on, 6,000 off. There it goes, 3,000 on. You can adjust that with these two buttons. Leave it alone for a second. 6,000 off. I told you I wanted to set it to 6,400. So that's set. Now, this right here, this mode is normally open or normally closed. And what this means is, normally open means there's no connection. So when it hits that RPM, it's going to close the connection and activate whatever you want. Normally closed means the connection's already on, so it's going to shut off whatever you want it to shut off at a certain RPM. We want it normally open because we want it to turn on the nitrous at 3,000 RPMs. Now here's your settings for 4-cylinder, 8-cylinder, or 6-cylinder. Now on an LS engine, unless you have changed it in the PCM, you need to set this for a 4-cylinder signal. So that's what I've done there. So we're on at 3,000 RPMs, off at 6,400, normally open, and we're set up for a 4-cylinder signal. So we should be good. I do want to say this switch will hold your settings even after you turn the key off. And what's funny is the settings you just saw on there, I believe those were actually the settings that I had in it 2 years ago when it was on the red truck. Actually, it's been like 2.5 years ago. So this thing hasn't been hooked up for 2.5 years, and it was still holding the settings that I had put in it when it was on Project Steppenwolf. Okay guys, we actually got a little spring shower here, so I'm waiting for that to pass. But the only thing we have left to do is test the system to make sure that it's going to function properly. There are several different ways you can go about doing that. The first way is obviously the most fun way. That would be to go out, turn the nitrous on, floorboard the car, wait till it gets to our set RPM, and see if the nitrous kicks in. While that is the fun way to do it, it's also the more dangerous way, because if it's not functioning properly, that's the way that's going to have the highest risk of messing something up. So another way you could test it is you could unhook, if you're running a solenoid type nitrous kit, you could unhook the solenoids and wire in a light bulb, and maybe, you know, stick a little LED or bulb or whatever under your windshield wiper, and take it down the road. Same thing, floorboard it, see if the light bulb lights up when you hit the RPM you've got it set at. If it does, you know it's working properly. In our particular application, we are using a ZEX module and it actually has a little light bulb built into it right here, and it has a wide open throttle switch built in. Now, since the window switch is simply going to turn this system on and not activate the nitrous unless we're at wide open throttle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the wifey get in the car, start the car, and bring the RPMs up to 3,000 and see if the light comes on here. And we can see our little light never came on. So one of two things is going on. Either something is wrong with my wiring here, or this Intellitronix switch is still not functioning properly. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go through with a multimeter. I'm going to check my connections. You could see that the RPMs were registering on the switch, and it got up over 3,000, and it still was not engaging the system over here. So I'm kind of leaning towards this Intellitronix switch is still bad. Okay guys, so funny story. Yes, it is hooked up correctly, but apparently, even though my buddy resoldered the connections in the switch, it is still garbage. So I just checked it with a multimeter, and it is not outputting any kind of signal when I reach the designated RPMs. I also went back and checked it, put it in normally closed mode, and just saw if it was going to output any voltage like all the time, because in normally closed mode, what should happen is it should be outputting a signal until it reaches that RPM, and it doesn't work in either mode. So yeah guys, just some more junk from Intellitronix. Well, we got everything wired back up the way it was, and now I'll show you the best way to install an Intellitronix window switch. And that would be the exact same way that we installed our second set of gauges from them 2 years ago. With that being said, it's looking like we are probably not going to be racing in 2 weeks. Not unless I can find another window switch. But anyway guys, that is the proper way to install an Intellitronix window switch. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend any of their products really, but now you see why. But if you do happen to get one of their window switches from them or Summit or Jegs, and it does actually work, that's how you hook it up. I can't really say that I'm surprised, because we had this same issue with this same window switch 2 years ago on Project Steppenwolf. I thought it was fixed. I thought it was just a bad soldering, you know, the bad connections in it that my buddy fixed. But apparently there's more to it than that. It's just junk. So anyway, another failed attempt from Bad Luck Garage. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. Hopefully we'll bring you some more successful content in the near future, and yeah, get out in the garage, get something done, and I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.